Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Cinema 4D and After Effects tutorial. I'm Dennis, and today I got something pretty cool for you guys, so let's check it out. Alright, cool. So this is an animation of Bloodflow, and you might have seen this before. It's pretty common, especially in the medical science field. And I'm sure there are a lot of different ways to do this, but I'm gonna show you mine, and I think you'll like it. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Cinema 4D, and the first thing I'm gonna do is to make a cube, and I'm gonna size that down just a little bit, and I'm gonna hit C to make it editable. I'm going my face mode and just select these faces here on the side, and I'm gonna hit D to bring on my extrude to and just drag that out. Next, I'm gonna scale that down a little bit, so inward like this, down like this. Okay, cool. So we're making our blood vessel first, so this is what we're doing. Going to my edge mode, I'm gonna hit UB to bring out my ring selection. I'm gonna select these edges in a ring, and I'm gonna hit Alt X to add a segment right in the middle. And if you're wondering, you can right click and you have all your options here, and these are your hotkeys. And I would recommend that you study them and just learn the ones that you use all the time, just for efficiency. So I'm gonna hit UL to bring out my loop selection, select the edge in the middle, and just gonna scale that out. I can go into my top mode and just see by hitting F2 and then hit F1 to get back here. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's drop this into a subdivision service. Cool. And I'm just gonna make sure that the subdivision, the editor, and the renderer is the same. And at this point, you can still go in here and just keep playing with it. Maybe I want to make this a little fatter by scaling this up. Whatever you want. But this looks good to me, so let's move on. So I'm going to drop this into a cloner object, and I'm going to change this to a radio. And right here you have your count and radius, so we can increase our count. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to do 10 for now, and just bring that out like so. Okay, and I'm just going to add a material just so I can see things better. The white one is a little hard to see. Okay, cool. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another cloner object and then drop this one into it. And instead of on the Y, we can shift that on the Z, like so. And I think, yep. And then you can offset it with the rotation right here. So just kind of rotate it a little bit, and I'm holding Alt and dragging. That gives you like more control, smaller increments. And I can bring this back, and let's see, and yep, there it is. And you can just increase your count to whatever you want, and there it is. That's our blood vessel. Very easy, right? And of course, you can go in here and keep tweaking it, but that's the basic idea. So next, I'm gonna make a null object. I'm gonna drop this cloner into it, and then I'm gonna spline wrap this onto a path. So you can draw with your pen too, just draw a path, but I'm just gonna use an arc. Let's increase the radius. Okay. And make sure you're on the right plane. Actually, yep, you're on the right plane. Increase the radius, something like this. And I'm gonna go in here and change the interpretation into uniform and make it 16. Okay. So I'm gonna rename my null object as my blood vessel. And I'm gonna drop a spline wrap deformer into it, and he's gonna ask me to reference a spline, so I'm gonna reference that arc object, and oh, and want to make sure that we're on the right axis. There it is. So on the z-axis, and there it is, where we now have our blood vessel flowing along the spline. And by default, fit to spline is on, but you can change that to keep length. So this would just change the length of where it doesn't stretch your object, right? And you know, at this point, you can still increase the size of your arc. Everything's still live, and you can go back into your clone object and say, oh, you know, maybe I want less cells. You can just change your count right here. Very flexible. And you can go back and you can change the number of cells around it here too, or you can change the radius. So it's all really flexible, but that's the idea. Okay, so we got our blood vessel, and I'm gonna make a layer. I'm gonna rename this as my blood vessel, and I usually do this for organization purposes. So I'm gonna click this, and then holding Control, I'm gonna drag that, just click and drag into it, and that will just bring everything in the group into the layer. That way I can just turn it on and off when I'm working, and this is really useful. Just, you know, if I want to see something and I want to hide something. Okay, cool. So we got our blood vessel. Next, let's make our red blood cell. So once again, I'm gonna make a cube, right? I'm gonna hit S to kind of center that on here, and I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. I'm gonna hit C to make it editable, and let's see. And once again, I'm gonna go in my edge mode and hit UB to bring out my ring selection. Select these rings, hit Alt X, add a segment, hit UL, loop selection here, and scale that out like so. And I'm gonna go in my face mode, select these faces right here, hit I to bring out my inner extrude. So, and then pull that inward, and then hit D for extrude, and then just bring that down a little bit. Now if we drop this into a subdivision service, we got our blood cell. Nice and easy. Right? Very cool. And something additional thing you can do here is, if you want, you don't have to do this, but you can, you know, put this into a group. Oops. Oh, sorry. What did I do? You can make a null object, right? Drop that into it, and just add a smoothing deformer, and that just kind of like rounds it out a little better. So if we turn that on and off, right? So that's cool. So I can, you know what? I'm happy with this, and we can leave it live as it is, but at this point, usually I would just, you know, I will collapse this into a single object by making a connect object, drop that in, and hit C. So now it's just one single object, and I think, you know, this is just, I can do the same thing for my blood vessel, but I'll leave that live. So I'm going to rename this as my RBC, red blood cell. Okay, really cool. Where's my arc? Oh, there it is. Okay. Alright, so next thing I'm gonna do is, again, make a cloner object, and drop the RBC into it, and change that to object, and I'm gonna select the arc as my object. Okay, and you have all these functions in here, and so we're just gonna increase the rate a little bit, and just let it play, because I usually just let my playhead play as I'm like working on my animations. So we can increase the count, and okay, something like that. Okay, so I mean, that's kind of the idea. So now I want to add some randomness to this, right? So because right now everything just is like one, so very easy. And before that, I'm going to rename this as my RBC. It's good to rename your stuff as you go, just to keep things organized. So I'm going to add a random effector to it. Good old random effector. And you have all these options, which is just adds a little, X, Y, Z here. And we can do some rotation too. Okay, let's see. Oh, there it is. Right. Okay, cool. Let that play. And you can add more variation, increase or decrease the count. Okay, cool. So that's kind of the idea. So we got our cells flowing, but now I want to make sure the cells are kind of like rotating as they're moving along, so it looks like they're flowing. So to do that, initially I was like, oh, maybe I just add another random effector, but a better way to do that, I'm going to rename this as my RBC initial random. So this is just a kind of your initial random position, and you can always go back and add more variations here. But I'm going to use a time effector, and this one is really cool. It's kind of like the time expression in After Effects. It just keeps going essentially, and you can see all your effectors under your effectors tab. So with my time effector, by default rotation, let's see, rotation is on. Oops. And let's see. Yeah, okay, cool. So if you just let that play, now it's kind of like rotating. So let's see. So usually I would zero out everything first and just see what each one does. So this one just rotates this way. You see that? Which is okay. And this one kind of rotates this way. Okay. And this one, oh, okay, I want this one right here. So maybe I don't need this one as much. Right, okay. Yeah, that's the idea. So with your time effector, you can play around with your rotations, and this is great because there's no keyframes. It just works, and you can go in here and start tweaking stuff. This is the beautiful part about Cinema 4D. Everything is fast, easy, and light, and you can just keep playing with it. All right, so let's bring back our blood vessel and see if our scale is off. Okay, it looks like our red blood cell is a little big, so maybe I'll just scale that down. Scale that down a little bit. And let's see. Okay, cool. That's the idea. Okay, so next, I'm gonna make a camera. You know what? I can just click right here, make a camera. And usually what I do is I would just zero out everything first, so it's right in the center. And you can just right click the little arrow here, and that would just zero out your coordinates. And I'm gonna group that by hitting Alt G into a null object, my camera. And this is gonna be my camera transformation or whatever. And I'm gonna add a line to spline tag to that. And I'm gonna reference the arc right here, and make sure tangential, how do you say that word? I don't even know. Is on. Okay, so you see your camera is right here, right? And I'm going to my camera and I'm just gonna rotate. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna rotate that by 180, so it's facing the other way. And let's look through our camera. Oh, okay, cool. And with my spline to tag tool, yep. And okay, it kind of just like find a position. And right now everything seems a little big, but that's okay. But that's okay. You know, you can always go back and just tweak it as much as you want. But I'm gonna scale down my red blood cells quite a bit, and let's play that. Cool. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make this 5 seconds. So let's just do a quick keyframe on the spline to align to spline tag. So I'm gonna find a position, say right here. Keyframe. Go to the end, and just move back a little bit, like right here. Keyframe. Now let's play that back. Nice. There it is. And everything's still live, right? So if you want your cells to move a little faster, so you just go back to your cloner, and let's see where it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, your RBC, and you can just increase the rate here, so they move a little faster. And you can even, if you want to rotate it faster, you know, you can just increase your values here in your time effector. So everything's fast, but that feels a little fast. So I'm actually gonna slow that down. It's nice and flowy. Okay, and you can add more cells if you want. And in your initial random effector, there's a seed here, and you can just click through to get some different looks, right? And the reason I grouped the camera into a null object with the spline, align to spline, instead of just putting that onto the camera itself, because I can still move my camera. So if I want a better angle, you know, I'm just like kind of moving my camera, and you can even animate the camera, add a little wiggle or something, you know, if you want. But that's the idea. That's the idea. And you know, you can just keep tweaking this forever, and it's fun. But let's stop right here and move on. So in my animation, I have my red blood cells, but I also have these little particles here. So let's add those, and those are pretty much the same thing. So I'm just going to duplicate the RBC cloner, right? And I'm going to make a sphere, and I'm going to delete the initial initial cell. I'm going to drop the sphere in here. Scale that way down, way down, way down, way down, way down, way down, way down. And I don't need these effectors. Instead, I'm gonna add a new random effector, and I'm gonna rename this as my environmental particles, and I'm gonna rename this as my particles random. And you can just kind of play with your values here, maybe a little scale variation. And another thing I like to do is in your cloner, you can duplicate the oh, first of all, I'm going to turn this all the way down to 3, right? And as long as you have render perfect checked, if you render it, it will always be a perfect sphere. But you can keep the segment really low, and that will just make your scene run faster, right? You don't need like 24 segments, you know. Or if you want, you know, you can make it 8, so you can see the shape better, but it doesn't really matter. I'll make it 3, and I will duplicate the sphere and just change the size a little bit, make it a little, make it like 2. I'll duplicate that again, make it like 1. So what that does is it just adds more variation, right? So whenever you're doing anything like organic or, you know, biological, whatever, you want to make sure that things are not too uniform. You want some variation, and this could apply to my blood vessel wall too. You know, you can make some variation in that, but you know, but that's just an idea, and you can play with that forever. So let's see. I'm gonna add like a light material on here. And these are just basic materials right now that just help me see my scene better. And later when I'm doing render lighting and shading, I'll show you how I actually set all this up. So let's increase the count. Let's increase the count quite a bit. And let's play that back. Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Yep, that's the idea. So you have your environmental particles, and I mean, that's pretty much the setup right here. I mean, you got everything ready to go. You know what? I feel like the wall right here feels a little big still. So I'm gonna make that a little smaller, actually. So I'm gonna go with my initial cube and just scale that down a little bit, right? And since everything is live, you know, it's all good. And I can turn this off for now. The subdivision service, I'll turn that back on once I fix my thing. So let's add some more clones. Make it 13. Let's see. Okay. I can even make it a little. Oops. Yep. A little smaller. Let's add some more. Go back to my other cloner and let's bring that back. Oops. Let's bring that back. Right. Bring that back. Let's fix our offset a little bit. Let's turn that back on. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna turn out the spline wrap right now, real quick, while I work. Oops. And make the radius a little smaller. Okay, cool. Let's turn our spline wrap back on. Right, and once again, you have your keep length, so you can fit to spline to stretch the whole thing, or you can just add more clones, fill this up. Okay, now let's look back in here again. Yeah, okay, now that looks a little better, right? A little closer to what I did here. So that was good. That was good, because now you see, you know, troubleshooting, just changing things, really easy, very fixable. Okay, so I'm gonna pause this for a second, and because I need to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I had to go to the bathroom real quick. So here's where we left off, and that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as animation goes, you can keep tweaking this, but let's start doing some look dev. Okay, so you know, when I'm like the general approach when I'm doing animations for 3D in general is either I try to get things looking really good, like 90% in 3D, like in cinema, and then have a little bit of compositing afterwards, or the other end, you just try to get something really decent or basic out of 3D, and then do a lot of like post compositing work in After Effects. And generally for like my professional work is usually somewhere in between, depending on the project, and I'll lean towards one way or the other, you know, depending on what the situation is. But for this tutorial, I'm gonna go old school, and I'm gonna do just some basic lighting and shading in cinema, and then I'll show you. We're gonna do After Effects heavy post compositing to get this look. And all the coloring, the blues and the reds and all that stuff, that's all post. So and I like this method because it's really fast to render. Like I was trying to do like some subsurface scattering look, all sorts of lighting techniques, and it was just taking a really long time to render. And you know, sometimes you don't have all the time, right? So I like whatever's the quickest, the most efficient way. And okay, so let's do that. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna apply a basic material. So this is gonna be my blood vessel, right? And it's just the default standard material. I didn't even do anything to it. It's the white material. And I'll make another one for RBC, for my red blood cell, right here. And then I have this one for my environmental particles. So these are my particles. And this one, I have everything checked off except for luminance, right? So if we just render it default, this is what it looks like. I've done nothing and doesn't look that good. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a light, and I'm gonna go in my top view, and I'm just gonna place the light within the null with my camera. So it's parented to the spline, aligned to spline tag, and I'm gonna move it like somewhere here inside. Just toggling my views to make sure, right? And let's render that real quick, see what that looks like. Okay, now it's starting to get something. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change that to a volumetric light, and then under projects I'm gonna change the mode to include. Now if I render that, okay, cool. And what I need to do is to bring this thing right here. I think that's the yeah, that's the outer distance. Bring that way out. Now let's go back and render that again. And boom, what's up, son? That's that's gangster right here. This shit is sick. Okay. I saw this from a tutorial from NAB 2016 Rewind. This guy, he was showing this method, and dude, this is awesome. And pretty much this is it. I mean, that is my lighting, hey, for my beauty pass. Like I said, you know, this is so quick to render, and it's already looking really good. And we're gonna do all the coloring and all that stuff in post. So that's essentially, you can even add a little bit more here. Let's see. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So, and then because the light is parented under this null, it will just follow. You will always be, you know, oops, what the? You'll always be in the right place. So this is perfect. So that's our setup. I'm not gonna do anything to the blood vessel material. I'm just gonna leave it as default. It's fine. But for my red blood cell, I'm gonna make that into like a glass material. So I'm gonna turn on transparency. Maybe not 100% transparent, like 90% is fine. We get 1.4, and I want to make the color. Actually, I'm not gonna change the color. I'm gonna change the color later. And you might reflectance. You have your default specular, right? Which is cool. And we can play with that. Play with that a little bit. By the way, this reflection channel fucking sucks. Okay, straight up. Like I like the old one with reflection and specular separate. Like this. What is this shit? It's so confusing. Like I don't like it. anyways, Beckman. I'm gonna add a Beckman. Octane. Octane's the shit. That's stick with Octane. Okay, let's see. Going for now. Dielectric and water, glass. I'm just gonna use one of these presets, pretty much, right? And change that to add. Let's render that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Render that again. But the cool thing is, this is all really fast to render. So that's, that's why I'm doing it this way. Let's see. I'm gonna go in my transparency, make it even more transparent. Run that out. Okay, cool. I'll just leave it as it is, and we can color correct that later. Maybe if you want to boost the light a little bit, like the brightness, make it like 120. See what that looks like. Okay, cool. And you can go back in your reflections, maybe play with the strength a little bit. I'm gonna turn that down, turn it up, whatever you want, whatever you want. I'm gonna hide the specular to see what it looks like. Doesn't really make a difference, but whatever. Okay, we're good. And for my environmental particles, I just have luminance checked, and I'm gonna turn on alpha. And going to alpha, I'm gonna add a for now shader. And what that does is just makes kind of a circle like this. If I bring that down, let's see. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Get that up. Just play with these values a little bit. All right. Okay. So these are my environmental particles. So at this point, I would just render out a sequence of just this. By the way, I'm hitting NF. So there are a couple modes I use the most often that you should know. Just NA is basic mode, NB is it's the wireframe, NG is like transparent wireframe, whatever, and NF. You should know these ones. And yeah, and we just render out a sequence like this. So if I'm doing like 1080, 1920, all frames, anti-aliasing, make it best, and just save that somewhere, right? But I'm just gonna render that to my picture viewer real quick, and look how fast this renders. It's like 8 seconds for HT frame. Okay, so I will render out a sequence like this. This will be my beauty pass. Okay, after that, the next thing I will do is I will make my other render passes. I will make a new material. I'm going to call this my AO material, ambient occlusion. And I'm just going to check on luminance and turn off everything else. And I will just drop that onto on my object right here. And a little trick is that if you select your material tag in your selections here, if you put 0, that will just turn it off. So sometimes when I'm doing a lot of different materials, I'll do this, turn off one material and then turn another one on, whatever. Okay, so I have this AO like luminance material applied to it. I'm gonna go in effect, add ambient occlusion, and just by default, not doing anything. Let's run that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make my size 200 bigger, boost the contrast a little bit, 15%. Let's render that to our picture viewer. So this will be my my second pass I will need a ambient occlusion pass, and I'll show you how I use it later. So, and this is kind of slow. This is like the slowest part of this whole thing, but it's all right. It's not bad. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna pause that. So we have that, and I'm gonna add a compositing tag to my blood vessel wall, and I'm gonna go to object buffer to enable object buffer 1. I'm gonna copy that tag to my red blood cell and change that to object buffer 2. And in my multipass, let's go to let's enable object buffer 1, and we add another one for 2, right? And what else did I do? Oh, we need to add a depth pass. So add a depth here, and then I'm gonna go on top. I'm going to my top view, select my camera, and just drag your focal length right here. All right, this thing right here. Drag it in a little bit. Go in details. Turn on your rear blur, whatever map, and this just gives you a range for your depth, something like that. And and next I'm just gonna do a quick test. So usually when I'm testing things, I would just turn things to basic and maybe like 540. So let's render that real quick. Okay, and in our layers, you can see all your different passes. So this is your AO pass, alpha channel, object buffer 1, which is just the blood vessel, object buffer 2, which are just your RBCs, and then there's your depth, and that looks perfect. That looks great. And essentially at this point, I would just render out the second set of sequences of my AO with my different object buffers, 1, 2, and then my depth, right? So if we look through, we have just these are the passes we have. We have our beauty pass with our one light, basic volumetric light setup. Takes no time to render. And then we have our AO pass, right? And then these other multi-passes. So you render that out, and then I'm just gonna pause this and then do that, and then I'll see you back in After Effects, and then I'll show you how I put it all together. All right, be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're back here in After Effects, and I've just imported all the passes that I've rendered, and these are actually just the actual passes I did with the renders I did for the sample video I showed you guys. Oh, what the oh, what? Anyways, sorry. So anyways, also we have our beauty pass, right here, our AO pass, and our depth, our object buffers, one for the blood cells and one for the blood vessel. Okay, so let's start compositing. So I'm gonna drop the beauty pass into a comp, just like so, and I'm just gonna add a quick curves to it, just to boost the contrast or the brightness just a little bit. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is, let's see, I'm gonna take my object buffer 2 down here. I'm gonna turn that off. I'm gonna make an adjustment layer. I'm gonna call that my blood vessel color correction. I'm gonna change the track matte to Luma matte, and I'm gonna add another curves to it, and this should just allow you to what? Oh, Luma matte. Yeah, there we go. Just adjust the blood vessel wall independently. So I might boost the contrast a little bit. Oh, I make sure you're on 16-bit by alt clicking here. And I'm gonna go in my red channel. I'm gonna bring that down a little bit. I'm gonna go my blue channel and bring that up a little bit. And oh, there it is. Nice. Very nice. Okay. And I'm gonna rename this as my main comp. Okay. I'm gonna drop the depth into its own layer, and I'm gonna call this my RBC matte, and I'm gonna drop the object buffer for the RBCs, and I'm gonna use once again Luma matte. Here I'm gonna invert that, and I can add levels to this. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to use this the same method I just showed you, but instead because I'm using the depth pass for this, so the stuff in the back is going to be less affected, and the stuff in the foreground is going to be more affected. So because in a fluid kind of, or any type of fluid environment, right, if you study it, as things go further away from you towards the back, it kind of blends into the environment. And so this is a way to do that. So let's drop that in. Oh, and I'm gonna add just a black solid in the back. So there's no alpha. So go back here and make another adjustment layer. I'm gonna call this RBC color correction. And once again, Luma matte, and let's add a curves to that. And now you can adjust this. So as you can see, stuff that's really close to you gets affected, but stuff in the back less affected, right? So just go to red channel, boost that up. Blue channel, play around with that. Or oh, you know what I did? I think I used the CC toner. This is a really good one. CC toner, and you just change the color. Play around with the color right here. And you can get something really vibrant or whatever. Right? And you can see like stuff in the back is less affected. You don't have to do it this way. You can just use the object buffer initially if you drop that in, right? And that's fine too. That's fine too, but everything is gonna be kind of color corrected at the same level. So I like doing this way. Just have a little nuance to your compositing, and everything's still. I mean, you just kind of play around with these values, see what you get. Okay, so that's that. I'm gonna make a quick vignette, very quick. And let's make a mask, and let's scale our mask. Scale our mask up. Oops. Okay. Something like that. Subtract it. Turn that on. Feather that out. Make it multiply, and just turn down the opacity a little bit. So that just kind of, it's good to have a little vignette, just so you focus things in the middle. Oops. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a depth of field. Add some depth of field. So I'm gonna drop that depth pass again into its own comp. I'm gonna rename this as my Z depth, and I'm gonna invert this and add another levels to it, and this is kind of just like, you can just play with the values here. You can have more or less. It's really flexible. Okay, go back to your main comp, drop the Z depth in. You can hide it because we don't have to see it. Make another adjustment layer, and I'm gonna call that my depth of field, and I'm gonna apply the depth of field effects from Fish Looped. Really cool plugin. Select my path, and just pick something here, and just turn that up. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. And there it is. It gets a little depth of field. You can do as much or little as you want. It's all up to you. Oh, I keep doing this. I keep hitting Control S as a habit, to save your file. I'm not saving this file, but whatever. Okay. So we got this. It's looking good. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a little edge blur. So this is something I like to do all the time. I just want the similar concept as your vignette. I want to just blur the edges a little bit. So real easy. I'm gonna make a solid and make it white. Drop our make a masking here, and oops, and let's feather that out. Let's feather that out. Something like that, right? Something like that. Make it more feather. I'm gonna pre-comp that by hitting Control-Shift-C, and I'm gonna call this my edge blur map. Going in there and add another solid in the bottom, a black one. Okay, so there's no alpha. Go back here. So that was my depth of field. Gonna add another adjustment layer called this edge blur. I'm gonna apply the fish loop effect again, and this time I'm gonna reference the edge blur map and just click in the middle and just crank that up a little bit so that now the edges are blurred, and it's coming together. And I think the last thing I did is the AO, adding my AO passing here. So I'm gonna make a matte for that once again. So I'm gonna drop the depth pass into its own layer, and this time I'm gonna use the object buffer for the blood vessel. Make it Luma matte, right? And I'm gonna invert that. Oops, I'm gonna invert that, and I'm gonna add a little curves. Come on, or levels, curves, whatever you want to do. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna call this my blood vessel matte. Cool. And I'm gonna add a black solid in the bottom. So go back to my main comp. I'm gonna drop that in. Here. Okay, and let's bring that up a little bit. I'm gonna solo these two layers, my beauty pass and the depth. Actually, I don't need to see this anymore. And I'm gonna drop my AO pass on top of this, and I'm gonna invert that. I'm gonna add a curves to it. Just crush it a little bit, and you can even add some blue if you want. Add some blue, and I'm just gonna use my track matte, alpha matte, so that it's not affecting. I don't want it affecting my cells, just the blood vessel. And because I did the way with the Z depth this way, so that it's there's a gradient as it goes back. It kind of fades away, right? I mean, you don't have to do that. You can just drop that in this way, but this you see the whole thing. I like it all the way like that, right? So now I'm just gonna change that to a color dodge, or maybe add. At this point, you're just playing around. Add is looking good. Bring down my opacity a little bit. Okay, and turn everything back on, and boom, there we go. Okay, let's run preview this. I'm gonna pause as he run previews. Okay, we're back. It's finished. It's done rendering or run previewing, and this looks great, right? I think it's looking awesome. And the final thing you can do, just to finish this off, and something I usually try, I just add a final adjustment layer, and I don't know, just add a curves, and just play with values. Maybe make it a little more contrast. You know, at this point, it's really up to you what you want to do. Let's turn it on and off. Yeah, kind of like this, right? Maybe I'll try adding a glow in here too. See how that looks. Oh, that might not look good. Maybe drop it down. That's kind of cool, right? That's kind of cool. Let's see. Yeah, it's, you know, it's up to you. Whatever you want. It's kind of cool. I'm gonna leave that off. And the last thing, you can add a motion blur. So you can you have the CC Force motion blur or the Pixel motion blur. Either which is fine. I think this one's a little better, but slow, right? If you have, I don't have it on this computer, but if you have the real small motion blur from what's it called, Revision, that works great. But just add a little bit of this, and that will go a long way, especially when you're moving. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time.